Would you like to play some football?
And welcome to another edition of Gridiron and the Gospel of Faith in College Football podcast. My name is George Schroeder. I'm joined by Todd Unzicker, and we're really happy to be joined today by David Pollack, longtime college football analyst. And I'm glad to call him a friend and a fellow follower of Christ. And so, David, man, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Appreciate it, George. I bet you never thought there would ever be a day that we would be doing a podcast and I wrote a book. The Big Dumb Animal wrote a book. Guarantee you never thought that would happen.
I had never contemplated it one way or the other. I'm not going to go any further with that. That's a question for you and Todd. You and Todd known each other for a long, long time, right? You and I have only known each other 6, 8, 10 years, whatever. But going back to when I was covering college football and you were at ESPN. But you and Todd have known each other going back to when you played at Georgia and he covered Georgia. And so
God,
I
that
guess
shows
I
you
played
how
in high
old
school.
Todd is.
When he
for high
played in
school.
high school. Yeah, in high school. I can remember covering the recruitment and all that kind of stuff.
Todd, we're
So-
old. You're just older.
Yes, yes.
And
And
I'm just older than that. So I don't usually get into those jokes because they hit way too close to home these days. But Todd, I want to ask this before we go any further. What you've known David a long time. What's your favorite Pollack moment?
Boy.
Well, I would say, because this is a Gridiron and the Gospel, I was not a believer when I first met David at all. And, his faith, though, impacted me. I was like, there was something about him like that. I was like, he's a little different than the other cats, and in more ways than one. But
Right.
I remember thinking that's the first thing that I remember. Obviously, Coach Richt and Chappie were like instrumental in my life, but I remember Davey on that. There were so many plays. I remember you fighting with Dan like all the time, and
Every day.
yes,
I've
Dan, and
never
then-
been in a fight in my life off the field. Not one. I've never been in a fist fight in my life. On the football field, I've been in at least a couple hundred. Like
Yeah.
pushing 300, 400 probably, because me and Dan fought almost every day. Me
Yep.
and Stinchcomb, me and Dennis Rowland. Dennis Rowland was the one that, like, he was 6'9", so when he locked me out, I couldn't get to him. So I actually had to, resort to kicking sometimes just to get him on my level. But hey, Gridiron and the Gospel, baby. Really, we're showing those fruits right there. Those are not the best moments necessarily.
Yeah, this is
No, but
clearly the gridiron
those
part
were
of it.
some of my favorite moments. And then his position coach was John Fabris, and Fabris screamed at me for like 5 minutes, nose to nose, in front of the whole team and everybody. I don't know if you remember that, but he lit me up like a Christmas tree one time.
Well, he did that to
And,
everybody, unfortunately. But
yeah,
that
but I remember, George, you know this as a scribe, like getting the chew out from an assistant position coach, was always fun.
Yeah. Mark Mangino one time years ago when he was an assistant at Oklahoma screamed at me, "What are you going to write today, Mr. Newspaper Man?" And I didn't know what I was going to write, but I suddenly had some ideas. Mangino, he was a trip. So yeah, well, look, I'm so glad all right. I should ask David, do you have a favorite Todd Unzicker moment? Maybe it's that one. Maybe it was fun to watch him get chewed out. I
to
don't
watch
know.
Fab undress him. Yeah, that's a good one. No, I mean, Fab unfortunately did that to a lot of people, but man, we had so many people with Coach Rick that just came around, like Todd, like he said, Chappie, that just poured into us, man. That just made a difference. It was just different than, it was bigger than football, and it wasn't about football. Like that's the coolest part. It wasn't about football, and it wasn't about how we were playing, and it wasn't about all the pressures that come with it. It was about something bigger and something better. And I think that's why I love athletes nowadays. They're very vocal about their faith and how much it means to them, because there's so many guys like Todd and Chappie that are in their lives that are making a difference, that are pouring into them, that are helping them realize what's really, really important. And I love the fact that there's so many folks that are outspoken about their faith, and it feels like there's so much more than ever. And listen, there's very little, gray area now. It's like you're asked about it and you're going to talk about it or you're not, right? Like, and it's, fortunately for everybody, it's been fun to watch everybody glorify God.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to sort of assess from the outside sometimes exactly what's going on. And is this a football thing, a college sports thing? Is it something that's happening on college campuses beyond athletics? But just as you look around, it does feel a little different over the last 3, 4, 5 years in terms of people being outward about their faith. What have you seen, David? And is that a football thing? I mean, are we talking about the Ohio State players from a couple years ago? Or are we talking about maybe something's going on college campuses beyond sports?
No, I think it's beyond sports. It's the college campuses. It's listen, it's access to people easy in an easier way than ever, right? Like social media, everyone has a microphone. Everybody has a camera, like so with their phones. And so I think it's cool to see more personalities. There's more podcasts than ever, right? Like that show people's personalities, and you get to know them off the field or off a court, whatever that looks like. But I think that it's been fun because there was a time, and it was a period in time. Now, listen, if you go back, obviously to faith, it used to be the centralized part of America, right? Like it used to be the most important thing to everyone, and it was very much commonality between everyone, and that kind of subsided and went away. And then for a while, we were very much outcasts, and when we said something about our faith, it came back with venom and vitriol. And I think now the pendulum swung, and it's like, hey, they're allowed to express their faith just like everyone else is allowed to express their lack of faith, right? Like it's, you're afforded the same opportunity, and you should be afforded the same microphone that I'm afforded. But a lot of times the people that are angry and bitter and the loudest, sometimes they're the ones that are going to spew and say things, where a lot of times believers, we're less likely to say things because we're very accepting of different. Like different is okay. Different is the gospel. That is different. That was different. That is what rocked the world, what changed the world. So I think it's, for a long time, the people that were the loudest, and listen, it still happens. The people that are the loudest and the most angry are the ones that a lot of time get the most clicks and the most views. But I think also the lack of censorship now and the changing of censorship, because it used to be censored at a very high level when us believers said something. And now obviously that's changed a good bit, which is very exciting.
And I think there's, with the turmoil in our society and culture, with things like, our phones that you're talking about, that like, people want a certainty. They want a timeless truth. They want something that they can hang on to. And that's what the gospel provides to people. And a vehicle like sports, specifically football. I'm in the Florida Panhandle right now. And where I served, I was in ministry here in a vocational sense, a professional sense, but I served on a high school football staff for 4 years. And I just ran into this morning some guys who, they have kids now, and they talk not about the X's and O's that we did, but one of them specifically yesterday said, he calls me coach. He's like, hey, coach, like, I remember you investing in me as a man then, and look, here's my kids. And it was like kind of one of those moments. And then, George, to your point of like God really moving, I'll be honest with you, I spent 4 years here with this high school team and saw maybe a little bit of fruit, but I'm seeing that now. I've been coaching the last 6 years. I have not had a season where I haven't had a parent and a player profess faith in Christ and get baptized at the end of the season. And it is a spiritual receptivity that I think what David's talking about, of kind of more boldness that we're seeing and the availability, coupled with just an uncertainty of something that is a timeless truth.
Man, I love that. And that's I think sports provide a tremendous platform for people to really build relationships, and that allows you to share the gospel with teammates, or if you're a coach, obviously, and you're able to build trust with sort of the players, and then also to the parents too. And that's one of the things I love about it, that sometimes you don't always have just as a pastor and in a church. But man, coaches can occupy, and believers who are or teammates can occupy this place in someone's life that other folks don't have. And David, I would be remiss if I didn't say one of the reasons we have you've been on the podcast before. It's been a year or so, but you've written a book called Everyday Counts. And what was kind of the inspiration behind, hey, I'm going to go ahead and write a book? You've called sort of a program Everyday Counts for years, kind of starting on social media, on Twitter, on X. And it would be more of it was a motivational thing, but was partly, I don't know, health and fitness related, but obviously was designed to go further than that. And it would be do something every day between Thanksgiving and the New Year's. And I realized there was a lot more going on than that. I'm just saying that's the first time I heard you use that phrase. Tell me about the book.
That was like 15 years ago.
Yeah. What's the inspiration?
Yeah. And by the way, I stole it from the BCS. It was every game matters, or every game counts. And I was like, well, every day counts, and so that's kind of how the the premise of it started. It started off as a challenge for Thanksgiving to January 1st. Y'all know how that goes. We don't move as much as we should, and we eat way more than we should. And so it's like, hey, let's get a mile every day, walk, bike, swim, whatever it is, like just 1 mile, build everyday habits that will help you, sustain success in the future. And then it became, then we started attaching, spiritual daily devotions to it from different people that you would know, whether it be, Dan Orlovsky and Sage Steele and Kirk Herbstreit, guys that I worked with, and so it was kind of cool that it kind of expanded. But like, honestly, George, it took 4 years at least to write it because see ball, get ball. I'm a defensive guy. We're not very bright. Kids' book was a lot easier when I wrote it because it's pictures. I'm very much better at pictures than I am at writing. But just I think it's really cool, man, to look at your life and to start to look at your failures and your successes and how did I get there? How did I become successful? How did I respond to adversity? Like, what are the things that I use? And really, man, it's more about the failures and using and developing templates and systems that, how do I make every day count? Like, you will leave with philosophies and you will leave with a plan of how to go attack the future. And that to me is important because I'm not smart enough to see the whole picture. When I came to the University of Georgia, one of the examples that I use in the book, it's get off, it's pad level, it's hands, it's all these different things on the defensive line. I can't ingest all of those things at one time, but I could start with something really, really small with my get off and a short first step. And then I mastered that. And then, so now you're making every day count. Like so many people want to look to the future. And so I call it the windshield. They're the windshield people that are looking for the future. There's a lot of people that are rear view mirror folks that are looking behind you. Like I want to be a person that's in the car, dog. Like in the car today, exactly where I'm at and be great today. And then guess what? Then I can take care of tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. But it starts with today. And that's where the name of the book is Everyday Counts.
Talk about some of those adversities. Sorry, George.
Yeah. No, that's
David
okay.
said something. Those adversities, obviously your injury was a big one, when you were in the league, more recently with Lindsay. And by the way, our listeners would love to hear what's going on with her. Many of them, we were praying for her and care. So, but talk about how everyday counts connects with adversity.
Well, if you live long enough, you know that it's not if, it's when. It's when adversity comes into your life. And, like that's this, we're going through James as a small group and it says, consider it pure joy when you face trials and tribulations, not if. Right. And so like, we're going to continue to face those on a daily basis. And then it's, how are you going to handle them? And then I think it's awesome. First of all, Lindsay's doing great. We went to the doctor a couple weeks ago and our scans were amazing. And they asked her, they said, what do y'all do to celebrate clean scans? And Lindsay looked at her with a straight face and she was like, we kind of expect clear scans. So we don't do anything to celebrate. And I was just like, that's how she's handled this. Like her faith is bigger than her fear. And so there's never been a blink. There's never been tears. I'll say this though, as a man and as someone who's dealt with broken neck and failed careers, like that is way easier to walk through when it's you because it's my stuff. But when it's her and I don't have any control and you're shaking your fist and you're like this and you're trying to control it, like you're trying to go make it happen. And here's the thing, you wrestle with God. And if you wrestle with God long enough, here's what happens. Broken hip, dislocated shoulder, broken fingers. Like it's not a wrestling match that you're going to win. So at some point you just unclench the fist and go, she's his before she's mine. And I think that's kind of what we've been learning along the journey, man. And that's what we talk about, in the book too, is the broken neck, the firings, the cancer, like those different diagnoses at different times and how God doesn't waste things. Those aren't things that are wasted. Those are things that are used. Those are opportunities that he uses for good, but it's just, how do we look at those things and say, this is something that's for us. This is something there's good that's going to come out of it. Let's stay in here for a little bit and figure out what that is.
Man, I love that, and I appreciate that. And obviously, we didn't fully explain that, but Lindsay has been diagnosed 3 years ago, I guess, or so, with brain cancer, and that's what we're talking about. So thank the Lord for clear scans. Pray for clear scans. Pray that He's glorified, and so that's really cool. What I think about, and this goes back to kind of a situation we've had with our family, with our youngest, who's a heart transplant, kidney transplant recipient. when he was a baby, and he's now 16 and healthy, and we're thankful for that, is this. Psalm 119:68, the psalmist says to God, "You are good and you do what is good. Teach me your statutes." And that's the approach that you're describing. That's the approach that I want to have is, God, you're good. And what you do is good. I don't understand it, but I know you're going to teach me through it. And may you be glorified in this, and may I respond in the right way. Even as I'm going to ask for what I want, I know you do what's good. I
Well, and
love,
how many times,
yeah,
George, how many times do we really fervently and like seek God in our decision making and really have to rely on God when things are going great?
yeah,
When things are good, man, like I'm in control, it's all good. Like, hey, this is fine. This is good. Like I'm used to this. This is normal. Normal is good. Normal is what I want, when I want, how I want. Bro, like unless we are facing a trial, unless we are under some duress, like we don't really see the need for God a lot of times, and we can do what we want, how we want. So I think that like, it'd be amazing, man, in this country if we took divorce off the table. What would happen?
yeah,
Divorce isn't an option. That's not an option. And we that to me is what, like, when we're going through these trials and we're going through this thing, if we take bad off the table, if we take worse off the table, but we just put joy on the table, and like, God, I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's here, but I do know that it's for me. So one thing the Bible talks about consistently, if you pray for wisdom, you will gain wisdom. He's not going to withhold wisdom for you.
yeah.
Now, he's not going to tell you yes to everything. He'll tell you no sometimes, and sometimes he'll say not yet. But wisdom is a yes. Like you will receive wisdom. Like that is something that will continue to grow in your life if you'll continue to ask. So I think those trials force you to ask for wisdom. They force you to rely on God, because a lot of times we think we got it. And listen, guilty. Think I got it. It's smooth. Everything's great. Like another day. And when those things come, you're like, all right, Lord, like this ain't much fun. I'm
Yeah.
going to need you a little bit.
And we really don't got it. That's the thing. He's given us
No.
every breath, every heartbeat right now. When everything's going great, he's the one sustaining you. And he's the one sustaining you when everything's not going great too. So sorry, Todd, go for it.
No, you're giving us lots of good nuggets in the book. What do you hope when someone closes it and they finish the book? What do you hope what's the big thing that you want them to come away from?
I think, I want them to feel a sense of intentionality in their life. Like I want them to go, hey, okay, I know now, like I can build some rhythms and some cadences in my life that I can go accomplish whatever I want to accomplish, because that is a fact, man. Because I thought I was made to be a football player. I thought I was made to be a commentator. Look, I don't, it's crazy to see, like I'm an author. That's mind blowing, of a book, like with real letters like that. So I think God can do amazing things in your life and through you. So I think that I would hope that they would walk away with dreaming big. And I would hope they would walk away with a sense of this also isn't, I don't need to be perfect at what I do. It doesn't need to be perfect before I pull that trigger. What it needs to be is purposeful. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be purposeful with intent in a direction. And then as you go and you fail, you continue to fail forward.
Yeah. No, that's good. What, we've been talking a lot about faith. We want to let our listeners and viewers know where they can get the book. I'm still waiting for mine. Your people have been talking to me, David, but I haven't seen it yet. So I'd hold it up right now. But anyway,
Yeah, me too, but I can't. So
yeah,
I'm just going to hold up a random book.
Yeah, there it is. It's beautiful. I don't have one either, by the way, so I can't hold it up either.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
it comes out.
you
It comes
talking
out
about
April 7th, by the way, and it comes out on all the, like, you can go to davidpollack.com, which I think is so lame, by the way. God, I fought that for so long. I was like, can we just do something else besides my name? That's just, anyways. But and you can go to davidpollack.com and you can find it all on there, and it's through the different Amazons and Barnes and Nobles and all the different bookstores.
Well, you're doing a great job, speaking at various events, as a follower of Christ, David, and watching you since high school, be encouraged, bro, that you are really crossing through that. And this may not be what you thought. You thought, I'm a player, I'm in broadcasting, but God is really using there. I want to pivot back on one thing and say, David, athletically, what do you look back and say, that was my favorite moment? Like as a player, like What was your favorite? I mean, people still want to know those kind of things. And the Lord, we talk a lot on this podcast. There isn't the sacred and the spiritual. It's all God's, right? And so,
That's right.
Yeah.
you know, it's not your identity, but it's important. And so what was your favorite moment? You look back, or maybe top two.
I think my favorite play and the play that I get talked to about the most is the South Carolina interception. You know, I got asked the other day by kids when I spoke to them, like, what was your best play? And I was like, oh, I got an interception for a touchdown. They're like, how long was it? And I was like, 0 yards. I was like, and thank God, because otherwise I wouldn't have made it to the end zone. But that's the play, Todd, that everyone says. When I see people in the Southeast, I remember where I was when you got that play. And that's probably the most famous one. There was a play against Florida where I got an interception near the goal line. They had gone down the field with tons of screens and stuff, and it just drove me nuts. And so finally, at like the 5-yard line, I played a screen. I jumped up and caught it like one-handed. I made a couple people miss, ran out of oxygen about the 50 and handed it to Sean Jones, and he ran it back to the house because I was not going to make it. I went straight to the oxygen. I literally walked off the field, never saw him cross the end zone because I was walking to the oxygen on the sideline to get a break. But those are two probably my favorite, like individual, but the best moment period was winning an SEC championship for the first time in 30 years at Georgia. Like, that sounds crazy now because they win them every year, but we had gone 30 years. And so to bring back that was the dopest thing as a player.
Yeah.
Man, that's so
Was that interception against South Carolina? I remember it well. I was there. I covered it. Was that before or after that delay? Do you remember we had a weather delay?
After. It was after
It was
the delay.
right after. Okay.
Yeah, because I was getting my butt kicked before the delay, and then I went in the locker room and I was like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, you suck." I'm literally self-talking. Some people say positive self-talk is good. Like, I'm more of the negative self-talk. Like, fat boy, get your crap together. And I kind of got re-energized, refocused, and then that was the best game of my career statistically, and most importantly, effort. Like, my effort in that game was really, really good, and that's really was my calling card.
George, that was a slugfest in Williams-Brice Stadium, and
0 offensive touchdowns scored. 13-6 was the final score.
Yep,
Man.
and that play literally was what sealed it. And a weird game too with this delay. A horrible thunderstorm came, and everybody had to run, and it was a delay on that. I know George wants to ask you, what's your take on college football right now? What are you thinking about with this 2026 year?
It's. I tell you this, man. I never thought a world existed where I would see Indiana win a national championship. So how is that not good for the game? Just to have so much parity, so much uniqueness. So it starts with that for me. Like, I love the fact that people get a chance to play now. Everybody gets a chance to win. Every fan base gets a chance to get jacked up and excited and be like, why can't we be Indiana? Like, that is amazing to me. Like, that, to me, that makes the sport better. Now, can we talk about all the other stuff and where there's flaws, like the calendar and NIL and contracts and collective bargaining and all that stuff? Yeah, but the game is still really, really awesome. And I would argue at the most, it's at the best point parity wise. But there's some things that I'd like to see fixed, and that's some things that will continue to work out. But I'm not going to let that get in the way of the greatest game on the planet and some of the greatest moments that we see every single year, and us to rally behind and get excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what none of us knows is where it's heading, and it doesn't much look like it looked, 4 or 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago. But once you get on Saturday, it's as good as it's ever been, maybe better. I'm glad you brought up the Indiana thing. I don't know how anybody could hate that. That just says basically, it's not 3, 4, 5 teams that can win it. It's 65 teams that could win it on a given year. And maybe I'm underselling that, right? Anyway, there's at least real hope for anybody. You don't have to be in the SEC.
George,
you don't have to be in the Big Ten. You could win it from somewhere else,
George, last year, I did my list preseason, and I'm like, I think there's 35 teams that could win it. Like, I've never said that in my life. Like, I would have been like, Georgia, 5 years ago, it'd have been Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. We're good.
Yeah, it'd be
like
3.5 teams could win it. Yeah.
I mean, you had no more than 5 that you continually pointed to. In the last 3 years, we've had 3 different winners from the Big Ten. Like, this used to also be an SEC dominant thing. And that's also changing because players aren't going to back up people. They're going to get paid at other locations. And Like, I got news for you. In this day and age in college football, it used to be really nice to be Georgia and Alabama. I'm just telling you, it's better to be Indiana and Oregon and Texas Tech and Texas and Texas A&M. You know why? Because they've got boosters that have a B next to their name. That's called billion. Like, your millionaires are awesome. I got billionaires. Like Cody Campbell, just like he could probably go in his couch at Texas Tech and find a couple million, right? Like ours, we got, right? They come out of our pockets. He's got millions of dollars, right? So I think it's an ever-changing world. And man, yeah, I think it's cool. Do I want more things to change? Yes. Like, do I want binding contracts and less fluidity? Do I like that there's one transfer portal window now? Absolutely. So there's some things that I don't like that I think we could make this sport better. But how nice is it to make a list before the season and go, like, hey, man, who's this year's Indiana? Who's got a chance? Like, that's a fun part of college football to me.
Who would you say are the top three that you kind of got your eye on because of off-season moves, the billionaires, whatever that may be, what you're seeing?
Well, I mean, I think Texas quickly asserted themselves into that conversation. I think twofold. One, the way Arch finished the season, obviously like this. Watching the national media bury him and do that stuff last year was absolutely atrocious. Like, to me, the blame was on Sark a lot and then the offensive line. And I didn't think Arch played lights out by any stretch, but like, let's see how many players would behind what they were dealing with. And the schedule early, obviously going to Ohio State ain't fun. So I think Arch, the way he finished, and then obviously some significant investments at this offseason. I mean, Cam Coleman at wide receiver, there was a bunch of teams that I was talking to that were like, yeah, we were in this thing and we wanted to get him. And then they started talking about quarterback money. And when quarterback money comes out, we can only pay one guy that, if we can pay him that. And so to get him at wide receiver, hey, let's go in the transfer portal and let's get better at running back. Not just one, let's get two. They got two. They got two of the best backs in the country to transfer in. So, you know, Texas quickly jumps to the top of the list of the short list of folks. Indiana rebuilds with Hoover at quarterback from TCU coming in, Marsh at receiver from Michigan State, who's a baller. They don't have Fernando Mendoza, which was a catalyst for, because whoever had Mendoza this year in the playoffs would have won it. Like, he was that big of a difference maker. Hence why he'll be the number one pick, you know, next year. But I think there's a if you're going to go out and pick a national champion and those guys to look for, I learned my lesson a year ago. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a team off the radar that I think can put it together. New DC, Tom Allen, Clemson. Woo, crash and burn. Learned a lesson. Like, if you want to be very smart in today's age in college football, you go with the Georgias, the Ohio States, that you know will always be in the mix. I mean, Ohio State's talent last year took a backseat to no one. They're going to have at least 5 players drafted. They still got the number one player in the country on their roster, the number one pick next year. So, you know, those normal folks are going to, those normal list of names will be there. But really, it's always it's going to be the fun game of who else is the other teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to be honest with you. This is that time of year that I feel like is, and obviously we've turned the corner to March, so I feel better about life in general, but it's the long, dark off season. I can't wait for late August and the first kickoff. And it's just, I can't wait for that. So when you start talking about that thing, and then you realize we're not just talking about 3 teams, we're talking about maybe 30, 35 teams. I'm interested to see what people look like. I'm interested to see what Tech looks like with they've tried to upgrade a quarterback. Let's just see what happens. I love every minute of this on the field. I hate a lot of it off the field, and I don't know how to fix it, and nobody's asked me, but that's what I'm looking for. So, hey man, the book is Every Day Counts. You can find it all over. It releases in early April, so not too long from now. And davidpollack.com, which of course is the website that he insisted on it being. No, you can't call it anything else. Call it davidpollack.com, he said. Not really. But man, I appreciate you coming on. And I'm just going to say this. I've appreciated this for a lot of years. I appreciate your bold, consistent public witness for the gospel, for Christ, and your desire to bring him glory. That's what we want to do. And you have a big platform, and I'm grateful that you've done that and that your life reflects that too. It's not just something you put on when the lights come on. So thank you for that, David. I'm grateful.
Well, it's not me, it's he.
Just,
that's
it
why
reminds me to pray for you.
That's why we're able to do that.
Yeah. So, hey, Todd, I think we're ready to wrap this thing up today. I appreciate you guys being here. We didn't want to like belabor the point. I want you guys to go look at, go grab Everyday Counts, read it. It's kind of semi-biographical and also principles of how to succeed. And it's a faith story, a faith journey. And so I love that. And I'm glad that you wrote the book. Defensive linemen can write books. That's what we've learned here.
No. You should have stuck with wrote book. That would have been more apropos.
Yeah.
Defensive lineman, write book. Big dumb animal, write book.
It's a bunch of sentences like "see ball, get ball," y'all, but it's really good. No, I'm kidding. It's well done, and so I've had a chance to peruse it. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I've been looking through it, and so I look forward to getting a copy of it sometime here soon. So, hey, I'm also grateful for those of you guys who listen to us. If you're listening on a podcast platform, thanks. Please rate, review, subscribe, hit the like button. You can find us on YouTube too, so you can see Ball, Get Ball behind David, and just search for Gridiron and the Gospel. And if you'd like to reach out to us, gridirongospelpod@gmail.com. We want to talk football, but we want to talk about faith in Christ. And whether it's Todd or Dean or me, we'd love to talk with you about Jesus. And here's the deal. During the off season, we're not weekly, but we're semi-regular. So keep a watch on your podcast inbox for more Gridiron and the Gospel, a faith in college football podcast, and we'll be back soon.